The moment the human died, the warship Astronine was silent. No alarms. No voices. No movement. Only the soft blinking of red lights in a dark hallway. Commander Vaylor stood in the medical chamber. His tall silver figure looked cold and calm. But inside, something felt different. Something heavy. On the metal table in front of him lay a human, Elias Ward. The only human on this mission. The only human on this ship. And now, he was dead. The other alien officers stood at a distance. None of them spoke. None of them knew what to say. Humans were not respected in the Galactic Alliance. They were known as emotional, short-lived, physically weak beings from a small blue planet called Earth. Many believed humans were not ready for space. Alliances. Many believed they did not matter. Vaylor once believed that too. He looked down at Elias's still face. There were small burns on his uniform. His hands were slightly scarred from the explosion. He did not look like a hero. He looked small. Fragile. Mortal. A soft mechanical voice broke the silence. Official report received from Galactic Council. All officers turned toward the hologram screen as it lit up in the room. A cold voice spoke. Mission successful. Enemy threat neutralized. Alien crew performed with honor. Human casualty recorded. Human involvement classified and removed from public archive. The room felt colder. Vaylor's eyes narrowed slightly. Removed? One officer whispered. The hologram continued. Human participation in this mission will not be documented. For political stability, the record will state that alien forces resolved the crisis independently. The message ended. Silence again. One officer spoke carefully. Commander, that means they will erase him. Vaylor did not answer. He stepped closer to the table. He remembered the explosion. He remembered the fire spreading through the engine core. He remembered the panic in the control room. Escape pods were limited. There were not enough for everyone. Elias had seen it first. Without shouting, without fear, he had grabbed a damaged toolkit and run toward the reactor chamber. Vaylor had tried to stop him. "You'll not survive that level of radiation," Vaylor had said. Elias had smiled. A tired, simple smile. "Someone has to stay." He had replied. Vaylor's hand slowly tightened at the memory. The human had sealed the reactor manually. He had stabilized the ship long enough for the others to escape the blast zone. But he had not come back out when they found him. He was still holding the manual control lever. He had died alone. Not for glory. Not for reward. Just so others could live. Vaylor looked again at the silent body. Humans were called weak, yet none of the stronger alien species had stepped forward when the reactor was failing. None of them had volunteered. The door behind Vaylor slid open. A young communications officer entered. "Commander," she said softly, "the Council has locked the mission logs. They are deleting visual records. Within 1 hour, there will be no proof the human acted. No proof. As if Elias Ward had never existed. Vaylor felt something unfamiliar rise inside him. Anger. Not loud anger. Not wild. But deep, quiet, burning. He leaned slightly closer to the human. Elias's last words echoed in his memory. "When I'm gone, don't let them say we never mattered." At the time, Vaylor did not understand why the human had said that. Now he did. The galaxy feared what it did not understand, and it did not understand humans. They were emotional. Yes. They were short. Live. Yes. They felt deeply. They bonded quickly. They protected fiercely, and when it mattered most, they chose sacrifice. The medical lights flickered softly over the human's still face. Vaylor straightened his posture. "Prepare a private data channel," he ordered calmly. The officers looked confused. "For what purpose, Commander?" Vaylor turned toward the dark window of space. Stars shimmered in the distance, silent witnesses to everything. "For preservation," he said. "The Council has given a direct order." Another officer warned carefully. Vaylor's voice became firm. "The Council protects power. I protect truth." He looked one last time at Elias. "You feared being forgotten," he said quietly. Outside the ship, repair drones moved slowly through debris left by battle. Inside, something much larger had just begun, a decision, a rebellion not of weapons, but of memory. Vaylor activated his personal recorder. "This is Commander Vaylor of the Astronine." He spoke clearly. "Official record. Human officer Elias Ward stabilized the core during the Carthan attack. He gave his life to save this crew." He paused. "And I will not allow his existence to be erased." In the dark room, surrounded by silent aliens and fading lights, one truth became clear. The human was gone, but the proof was still alive. Before the war, before the sacrifice, before the silence in the medical room, there was only doubt. When Elias Ward first stepped onto the warship Astronine, the docking bay was filled with whispers. He looked different from the others, shorter, softer skin, no natural armor, no glowing eyes, no sharp claws. Just a simple dark uniform with the symbol of Earth on his shoulder. Some alien officers watched him with open curiosity. Others did not even try to hide their disappointment. "That is the human?" one of them muttered. "They are sending this to represent their species?" Commander Vaylor had stood at the front of the welcoming line. His face showed no emotion, but inside he shared the same thoughts. Humans had only recently joined the Galactic Alliance. They were new to deep space travel. Their technology was improving, but it was still behind many other advanced civilizations. Most species believed humans were too emotional for serious missions, too attached, too impulsive, too fragile. Elias walked forward with steady steps. He saluted in the human way and spoke in calm, simple words. "Officer Elias Ward, reporting for duty." His voice was not loud, not powerful, but it did not shake. Vaylor studied him carefully. "Do you understand the risk of this mission?" Vaylor asked. "Yes, Commander," Elias replied. "You may not return." Elias gave a small smile. "That's true for everyone here, sir." Some officers exchanged looks. The human did not sound afraid. The first few weeks were difficult for him. The gravity on the ship was slightly stronger than Earth's normal level. Elias moved slower than others. During combat training, he fell more than once. His hands trembled after long weapon drills. Whispers followed him in the corridors. "He cannot even hold a plasma rifle steady. Humans tire too quickly. He will not survive a real battle." Elias heard them, but he did not argue. Instead, he trained longer hours. He studied ship systems at night. He asked questions. He listened more than he spoke. Vaylor began noticing small things. Elias always volunteered for maintenance duty. He repaired small damaged panels without being asked. He shared Earth stories in the mess hall. Simple stories about oceans, rain, forests, and cities full of light. At first, no one cared. But slowly, a few officers started sitting closer when he spoke. Humans, Vaylor realized, had a strange strength. They connected easily. 1 month into the mission, the real test came. An unexpected asteroid field surrounded the ship. It was not on any map. The navigation system malfunctioned after a sudden magnetic pulse. Large rocks crashed against the outer shields. The control room filled with alarms, shields dropping. Steering response delayed. Impact in 7 seconds. Officers moved quickly, but panic spread. The field was too dense. Auto-navigation failed. Manual override was complex and dangerous. Vaylor issued commands rapidly, but one engine thruster jammed. Without it, the ship would spin directly into the largest asteroid. Silence fell for half a second. Then Elias spoke. "Commander, I have an idea." Several heads turned sharply. "This is not the time for experiments," one officer snapped. But Elias continued calmly. "If we redirect power from life support section 3 and push it into the damaged thruster, we can create a short burst. It will not last long, but it might change our angle. That will lower oxygen in part of the ship," someone warned. "For 2 minutes," Elias said. "We can survive that." Vaylor calculated quickly. The risk was high. But doing nothing meant certain destruction. "Do it," Vaylor ordered. Elias moved fast. His fingers flew across the console. Sweat formed on his forehead. Power redirected. The thruster roared for 3 short seconds. The ship tilted just enough. The massive asteroid passed only meters away. Silence. Then, field cleared. No one spoke for a moment. They were alive. Because of the human, oxygen levels returned to normal. Officers slowly looked toward Elias. He leaned back in his chair, breathing heavily. "That was close," he said with a nervous laugh. Vaylor studied him carefully. "You calculated that under extreme pressure," the commander said. Elias shrugged slightly. "On Earth, we solve problems fast. We don't always have better tech, so we think differently." From that day, the whispers changed. Not fully, not immediately, but slowly. The human was still smaller, still physically weaker. But when systems failed, he adapted. When tension rose, he stayed calm. When others focused on rules, he focused on solutions. Vaylor began to understand something important. Strength was not only about armor or weapons. Sometimes strength was about refusing to freeze in fear. Sometimes strength was choosing to act. And though many in the galaxy still underestimated humanity on the Astra 9, that belief. The battle began without warning. One moment, the stars outside the Astra 9 were calm and distant. The next moment, space itself seemed to tear open. Enemy ships emerged from hyperspace like dark shadows, long, sharp, and silent. Their weapons charged. Instantly, multiple hostile targets detected. The navigation officer shouted. Red lights filled the control room. Commander Vaylor stood tall in the center. Raise shields, defensive formation. Plasma fire struck the ship before the shields were fully active. The impact shook the entire vessel. Sparks flew from the side panels. Some officers lost balance. Elias gripped his station tightly. This was no asteroid field dot. This was war. The enemy ships moved fast. Faster than expected. Their attacks were precise. They targeted engines, weapons, and communication arrays. "They are trying to disable us, not destroy us," one officer said nervously. Another blast hit the rear thrusters. Engine 3 offline. The ship tilted slightly. Vaylor's voice remained steady. "Return fire. Focus on their lead vessel." The Astra 9 fired back, but the enemy shields were strong. Minutes felt like hours. Then came the worst hit. A direct blast struck the lower reactor chamber. The ship went dark for half a second. When the emergency lights returned, smoke was rising from multiple sections. Reactor core unstable. Someone shouted. Silence fell over the control room. Everyone knew what that meant. If the core overheated, the explosion would destroy the ship completely. How long? Vaylor asked. 6 minutes before total meltdown. Panic began to spread. Seal the reactor chamber, an officer suggested quickly. "If we seal it, pressure will build faster," another replied. "We need manual override," the engineer said. "The auto system is damaged." Manual override. That meant someone had to go inside the reactor chamber. Radiation levels were rising quickly. Whoever went in would not survive long. The room grew quiet. No one moved. No one volunteered. The enemy ships continued firing. Another explosion rocked the hull. Elias looked at the screen showing the reactor temperature climbing. He took a slow breath. Then he stood up. "I'll go." he said. Several officers turned sharply toward him. You will not survive, the engineer said. Elias nodded. I know. Vaylor stepped closer. You are not required to do this. Elias looked at him calmly. There was fear in his eyes, but it did not control him. If the core explodes, everyone dies, he said. If I go, maybe you don't. The silence became heavy. You are human, one officer said quietly. Your body cannot handle that radiation. Elias gave a small smile. Yeah, I figured that. Another explosion shook the ship. Sparks rained from the ceiling. 5 minutes. The engineer shouted. Elias walked toward the emergency suit locker. His hands moved quickly as he put on the protective gear. It was not built for humans, but it would have to do. Vaylor followed him to the corridor outside the reactor section. You do not owe this alliance your life, Vaylor said firmly. Elias paused at the sealed blast door. I'm not doing it for the alliance, he replied. Then why? Elias looked back at the control room. At the officers who once doubted him. At the crew who had slowly started to accept him. Because they're my team. Simple words. No long speech. No dramatic promise. Just truth. The blast door opened slightly. Heat and bright orange light poured out. Warning alarms screamed. Radiation levels. Critical. Elias stepped inside. The door closed behind him. Inside the reactor chamber, the air shimmered with heat. The core pulsed violently. Unstable and loud. Elias moved toward the manual control lever near the base of the reactor. His suit alarm began, beeping immediately, radiation exposure rising. His hands shook as he reached the control panel. The manual. Override required full physical force. It was designed for stronger species. He pulled. The lever did not move. He gritted his teeth and tried again. Outside, the control room watched through a damaged internal camera. Core temperature increasing. The engineer cried. Inside, Elias adjusted his position. He placed both hands on the lever and pushed with everything he had. His muscles strained. The lever moved slightly. Warning lights flashed across his helmet display. Time remaining. 2 minutes. He remembered Earth. Blue oceans. Rain against a window. His mother's voice. He pushed harder. The lever suddenly locked into place. The reactor core's violent pulse slowed. Temperature dropping. Stabilizing. In the control room. Silence filled the air. Core stabilized. The engineer whispered in disbelief. Cheers almost began. Then the camera inside the reactor flickered. Elias was still standing near the lever. But he was not moving. Commander. The communications officer said softly. Vaylor stepped closer to the screen. Elias, he said into the COM channel. Report. There was static. Then a weak voice. Did it work? Yes, Vaylor replied. A faint breath of relief came through the speaker. Good. A pause. Then quieter. When? I'm gone. Don't let them say we never mattered. The signal cut. The reactor chamber camera went dark. And in that moment, the galaxy lost one human. But the ship, the crew, were still alive. The battle was over. The enemy ships had retreated after the reactor stabilized. Without the explosion they expected, their attack failed. The Astra 9 survived, but survival did not feel like victory. 3 days had passed since Elias Ward's death. His body had been placed in a preservation chamber, waiting for final protocol. The crew moved quietly through the halls. Conversations were short. Laughter was gone. Commander Vaylor stood alone in the central archive room. In front of him floated a large holographic display, the official mission record sent by the Galactic Council. He watched the playback carefully. Enemy ambush successfully countered. Reactor stabilized through automated emergency system. Alien crew maintained full operational control. Casualties minimal. Vaylor's eyes narrowed. There was no mention of Elias. No mention of manual override. No mention of sacrifice. He activated another screen, internal ship footage from the battle. Or at least, what should have been there. Instead he saw corrupted files, missing segments, black gaps where the reactor chamber video once existed. Access denied. The system voice said calmly, authorization required by Galactic Council. Vaylor turned slowly toward the communications officer standing near the door. Who authorized data removal? He asked. She hesitated. The order came directly from the Council High Chair. Vaylor felt the same quiet anger rising again. They are rewriting history, he said. Yes, Commander. Why? The Council fears that if humans gain reputation for heroic sacrifice, their influence in the Alliance will grow. Vaylor looked back at the hologram. Influence. Power. Fear. The galaxy did not fear human weapons. It feared human potential. Humans were new, unpredictable, emotional. If one human could save an advanced alien warship with bare hands and courage, what could millions do in the future? The Council did not want that question spreading. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Senior Officer Krell entered the archive room. You should let this go. Commander, Krell said quietly. Let what go? Vaylor replied without turning. The Council's decision. Vaylor finally faced him. A crew member died saving this ship. A human crew member, Krell corrected gently. Yes. Krell crossed his arms. The Council believes recognizing him publicly may cause instability. They may ask why humans were underestimated. They were underestimated, Vaylor said firmly. Krell remained silent. Vaylor stepped closer to the archive console. He placed his hand on the control panel and initiated a deep-level scan. If official logs are erased, he said, there must be backup traces. You are risking your position, Krell warned. Vaylor did not stop. Truth is not a risk. The system began scanning hidden memory layers within the ship's core database. Lines of code flashed across the screen. Deleted files often left. Shadows. Fragments. Small digital fingerprints. Minutes passed. Then, partial recovery detected. Vaylor's eyes sharpened. A damaged video file appeared on screen. It was incomplete. Distorted, but it was something. He activated playback. The image flickered. Static. Covered most of the frame, then slowly. The shape of the reactor chamber appeared. Blurry. Faint. Elias standing near the manual. Override lever. The video froze, and glitche. Then a small audio fragment played. Don't let them say we never mattered. The sound cut again. The room went silent. Krell looked uneasy. This will not be enough, he said. The footage is corrupted. It is enough to begin. Vaylor answered. He copied the recovered fragment into a secure personal drive. The communications officer looked worried. If the Council discovers this, they will, Vaylor interrupted calmly. He closed the archive screen. Then why continue? She asked. Vaylor walked toward the large observation window overlooking space. Stars shimmered quietly beyond the glass. Because if we accept this, he said slowly, then any species can be erased. Krell frowned. You are defending humans. I am defending truth. Galactic Council High Chair. Vaylor turned back to the room. Open channel. The hologram activated. A tall, cold figure appeared. The High Chair of the Council. Commander Vaylor, the voice echoed. We have detected unauthorized archive access. Vaylor stood straight. I reviewed the battle logs. That authority belongs to us. The reactor did not stabilize automatically, Vaylor said evenly. A crew member performed manual override. The High Chair's eyes dimmed slightly. That detail is irrelevant to the official record. The ship had returned to Alliance space. Repairs were complete. The outer hull no longer showed signs of battle. From the outside, the Astronine looked strong again. But inside, something had changed. Commander Vaylor walked alone through the lower Maintenance corridor. This part of the ship was quiet. Few officers came here unless necessary. In his hand, he held the small secure data drive. The partial recording from the reactor chamber was not enough. It was damaged, too broken to convince the entire galaxy. If he wanted real proof, he needed something stronger. He stopped outside a locked storage room. "Open compartment C-17, he ordered. The door slid open with a soft mechanical sound. Inside were personal lockers of crew members who had died during missions. According to protocol, belongings would be returned to their home worlds. Elias Ward's locker was at the end. Vaylor stood in front of it for a long moment. Humans kept personal items. Small things, photos, notes, objects with emotional value. Most alien species did not understand this habit. Inside, he found a small metal case, a folded Earth flag patch, and a thin handheld device. He picked up the device. It was simple, human-made, scratched on the edges. He pressed the side button. No response. The battery was likely drained. After a few seconds, the screen flickered to life. A passcode screen appeared. He paused. Humans valued privacy. He almost stepped back. But then he remembered the Council's cold message. Human involvement removed. Vaylor entered the date of the reactor battle. Access denied. He tried the ship's launch date. Denied again. He looked at the small Earth flag patch inside the locker. On Earth, we always remember where we came from. Vaylor searched human records. Elias Ward. Birthplace. Pacific Coast, Earth. He entered Earth's planetary designation code. The device unlocked. The screen displayed a list of video files. Personal logs. Dozens of them. Vaylor selected the most recent entry. The image appeared. Elias's face filled the small screen. He was sitting in his quarters, speaking directly to the camera. "If you're watching this," Elias said with a small smile, "it means I probably did something reckless." Vaylor felt a strange tightness in his chest. Elias continued. "The Alliance doesn't fully trust humans yet. I get it. We're new. We're different. We feel too much." He leaned back slightly. "But that's not weakness. That's why we fight harder." The video shifted to another clip. This one was recorded only hours before the battle. Elias looked tired, but calm. "I've been running some numbers," he said. "If something goes wrong with the reactor during combat, manual override might be the only option. The auto system is outdated." He looked straight into the camera. "Someone needs to know it wasn't random." Vaylor's grip tightened on the device. Elias reached forward and adjusted the camera. "I've also synced my body cam to this unit. It records independently from ship logs." Vaylor's eyes widened slightly. Independent recording. The Council could erase ship archives, but they could not erase a personal human backup. He searched. Through the files, there it was. Reactor_cam_final. He pressed play. The footage was clear. Better than the corrupted archive version. It showed everything. The heat inside the reactor chamber. The radiation warnings flashing red. Elias struggling to pull the heavy manual lever. His breathing loud inside the helmet. His voice shaking but steady. It captured his final words clearly. "When I'm gone. Don't let them say we never mattered." The video ended. Vaylor lowered the device slowly. Raw truth. Footsteps approached from behind. It was Officer Krell again. "You are still searching," Krell said quietly. "I have found it," Vaylor replied. He handed the device to Krell. Krell watched the footage in silence. When it ended, he looked different. Less certain. "This changes things," Krell admitted. "Yes," Vaylor said. "It does, but releasing this will anger the Council." "They are already angry." Krell studied the human locker again. "Why did he record this?" Vaylor answered, without hesitation, "Because he knew they might erase him." Silence filled the small storage room. For the first time, Krell spoke without doubt. "What is your plan?" Vaylor closed the locker gently. "The Council controls official archives," he said. "But they do not control public transmissions. You intend to broadcast it?" "Yes." "To the entire Alliance?" "Yes," Krell inhaled slowly. "That will cause political shock." Vaylor looked toward the upper decks of the ship, where the crew continued their duties unaware. "Good," he said. He looked once more at the small human device in his hand. A simple object, fragile, but holding a truth powerful enough to shake the galaxy. "They wanted to erase a human," Vaylor said quietly. "They forgot something." "Important." Krell raised a brow ridge. "What is that?" Vaylor's voice became calm and firm. "Humans prepare." He turned toward the exit. "Ready the long-range transmission array." Behind him, the silent storage room remained still. But inside one small device, the proof was alive. And soon, the galaxy would see it. The transmission chamber was not designed for rebellion. It was built for diplomacy, for official speeches, for controlled information approved by the Galactic Council. But today, it felt different. Commander Vaylor stood at the center platform. Around him, senior officers of the Astronine waited in silence. Large holographic projectors surrounded the circular room, ready to connect to every major system within the Alliance. Officer Krell stood beside the main console. "The long-range array is calibrated," Krell said quietly. "Once activated, the signal will reach all member worlds." Vaylor nodded once. "And the Council?" he asked. "They have already sent 2 warnings," Krell replied. "They are demanding compliance." Vaylor expected that. High above Alliance space, in the central political hub, the Council believed power came from control. They controlled fleets. They controlled trade routes. They controlled information. But they did not control memory. "Open public channel." Vaylor ordered. The chamber lights dimmed, one by one. Holographic windows appeared around the room. Faces from different species filled the air. Tall armored warriors, floating energy beings, scaled diplomats, insect-like strategists. Confusion spread quickly. This is not a scheduled session. Why is a warship initiating open broadcast? "Commander Vaylor, explain yourself." Vaylor stood straight, calm but firm. "This is not a political message," he began. "It is a correction." Murmurs spread across the holograms. At that exact moment, a new projection appeared, larger than the others. "The High Chair of the Galactic Council. You are in direct violation of Council order," the High Chair said coldly. "Terminate this transmission immediately." Vaylor did not look away. "With respect," he replied evenly. "The Alliance deserves truth." The High Chair's voice sharpened. "The official report has already been distributed." "Yes," Vaylor said. "It has." He paused. "And it is incomplete." The chamber grew still. Vaylor gestured to Krell. "Play the recording." For a brief second, nothing happened. Then the reactor chamber footage filled every holographic screen across the Alliance. The heat, the radiation warnings, Elias Ward struggling to pull the manual override lever. Gasps echoed through multiple systems. Some species had never seen a human up close before. They watched as the smaller, physically weaker being fought against a machine built for stronger hands. They watched him succeed. They heard his final words clearly. "When I'm gone, don't let them say we never mattered." Silence followed the video. Deep silence. The High Chair spoke first. "This footage is unauthorized and emotionally manipulative." Vaylor responded calmly. "It is factual. The human acted without strategic approval. He acted to prevent total ship destruction," Vaylor said firmly, "including the lives of 17 non-human officers." Murmurs grew louder among the holograms. An armored delegate from a warrior species spoke. "Is this recording verified?" Krell stepped forward. Metadata confirms timestamp alignment with battle logs. Radiation readings match reactor reports. Another delegate asked, "Why was this not included in the official archive?" All eyes turned toward the high chair. The council leader's tone became defensive. The alliance must maintain stability. Rapid elevation of a newly admitted species can disrupt power balance. Vaylor took one step forward. So truth is less important than balance? The high chair did not answer immediately. Instead, he shifted strategy. You risk interspecies conflict by framing this as suppression. Vaylor's voice remained steady. I am not framing anything. I am showing what happened. He turned slowly, addressing every system watching. A human officer gave his life to save this ship. His action was not recorded. His existence was nearly erased. He paused. If this can happen to one species, it can happen to any. The statement hit hard. Across the holograms. Expressions changed. Suspicion. Concern. Doubt. Not toward Vaylor. Toward the council. The high chair's projection flickered slightly. You overstep your authority, Commander. Yes, Vaylor replied without hesitation. Because authority failed. A low rumble of agreement came from several delegates. A diplomat from a peaceful aquatic species spoke next. If humans are capable of such sacrifice, perhaps our assessment of them requires review. Another voice added, erasing records damages trust. The high chair's control was weakening. He attempted one final move. And when you're gone, I'll still prove you were here. HFY Sci-Fi Story. Humanity faces its most powerful truth, that existence is not measured by how long you live, but by the mark you leave behind. This emotional HFY, humanity, Sci-Fi Story explores what happens when a human forms an unforgettable bond in a galaxy that underestimates Earth. Told through a gripping alien perspective, this HFY story dives deep into themes of sacrifice, loyalty, memory, and the undeniable impact of humanity on the universe. When one human dies, the galaxy believes their presence will fade into nothingness, but someone refuses to let that happen. In a universe filled with advanced alien civilizations, cold logic, and interstellar politics, one voice stands against oblivion and declares that humanity will never be erased. If you love HFY sci-fi stories, emotional alien POV narratives, powerful human legacy tales, and immersive space storytelling, this story will stay with you long after it ends. Perfect for fans of humanity-first science fiction, deep space drama, and inspirational cosmic storytelling. This video blends heart-wrenching emotion with classic HFY strength. Subscribe for more original HFY stories, alien encounters, sci-fi audiobooks, and epic human legacy adventures that celebrate the resilience and greatness of mankind across the stars. HFY. Hashtag HFY story, hashtag Sci-Fi story, hashtag humanity first, hashtag alien POV, hashtag space story. Hashtag emotional sci-fi, hashtag sci-fi narration, hashtag human legacy, hashtag interstellar drama, hashtag sci-fi IUD, IOBO. Okay.